Ever feel like you're stuck, waiting on God's timing while the world moves ahead? Well, here's a story of encouragement. Remember, those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. Isaiah 40:31. Trust His timing, even when it's hard. The wait is worth it. Lena sat by her window, staring out at the soft autumn rain. The world outside seemed peaceful, yet her heart felt like a storm. For months now, she had been praying for direction, praying for clarity about her future, her career, and even her relationships. She had always been a woman of faith, but the waiting was wearing her thin. "I don't know how much longer I can do this, Lord," she whispered to the quiet room. "I feel like I'm stuck, like I'm wasting time while the world keeps moving forward." She had dreamed of a new job, a new life, and a sense of purpose that seemed just out of reach. But every time she tried to make a move, doors closed. It wasn't as though she wasn't doing everything she could. She had submitted resumes, attended interviews, prayed fervently, and even fasted in hopes of hearing God's voice more clearly. Yet nothing seemed to change. Her mind kept replaying the words of Jeremiah 29:11. "For I know the plans I have for you," declares the Lord, "plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." The verse should have comforted her, but instead, it reminded her of the silence she was experiencing from God. The struggle was real. Lena felt as though the clock was ticking, but God's timing seemed out of sync with hers. She watched as friends moved ahead in their careers, started families, and bought homes. But here she was still waiting. One evening, after a long day of job hunting with no results, Lena sat in her car, feeling defeated. She pulled out her phone and opened the Bible app. Her thumb hovered over the screen, and she prayed quietly, asking God to speak to her. She swiped and tapped, opening a verse she hadn't read in a while. Isaiah 40:31. "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." A small tear slipped down her cheek. Lena knew this was God's whisper, reminding her that waiting wasn't passive. It was active, and it was strengthening her. She had been looking at the delay as something that was holding her back, but maybe God was using this time to prepare her for something greater. The next day, she found herself meditating on the passage from James 1:4. "Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Perseverance. She had felt like giving up many times. But what if the waiting was actually refining her, making her more patient, more trusting, and more reliant on God's timing instead of her own? As the weeks went by, Lena continued to pray and seek God. She started to view the waiting differently, as a season of preparation rather than punishment. She poured herself into her hobbies, worked on her personal growth, and even began volunteering in a community outreach program. Each day, she reminded herself that God's ways were higher than her ways, Isaiah 55:9, and that He had not forgotten her. Then, one afternoon, she received an email she hadn't expected, a job offer for a position that aligned perfectly with her skills and passions. Not only that, but the company was known for its strong faith-based values. She marveled at how God's timing had been at work in her life all along. Lena sat back in her chair, eyes wide with wonder and gratitude. She had waited on the Lord, and now He was answering her prayer in a way that far exceeded her expectations. It wasn't just a job offer, it was a confirmation that God had a plan for her, and His timing was perfect. She remembered the words of Psalm 27:14, "Wait for the Lord, be strong, and take heart, and wait for the Lord." The waiting had been hard, but the reward was beyond anything she could have imagined. It wasn't just the job that was the gift, it was the growth, the trust, and the deeper relationship with God that she had cultivated during the waiting. Lena knew she had learned an invaluable lesson, that when you wait on God's timing, it's not just about getting the outcome you desire, but becoming the person He needs you to be for the season ahead. And so, she embraced the next chapter of her life with a new understanding of God's perfect timing. He had prepared her for this moment, and as she stepped into it, she felt His peace wash over her, knowing that in every season, He was with her, working all things together for her good. Romans 8:28. The waiting was worth it. And now, she was ready to soar. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, share it, and subscribe if you haven't as yet.